Welcome back to Platonically Yours, a podcast about platonic love. Today we are recording on Ngunnawal and Ngambri land. We would like to pay our respects to elders past and present and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Today we're joined by two of my very dear friends, Alex and Wave. Hello, how are you?
Hi.
Hello.
Good, thank you. Thanks for having us in this very fancy studio.
And before we get into it, would you like to introduce yourselves? Maybe we'll start with Alex. We'll do alphabetical kind of back and forth maybe.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Good way.
This is when having a name starting with A. It's really good. Hello, everyone. My name's Alex. I have been on the pod before.
You may remember me.
Remember me from season 1. So a little bit about me. I don't know. I always hate these. This is on par with telling people a fun fact about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in this season, I'm now 28 years old. And I guess outside of my 9 to 5, I guess at the moment I'm just trying to figure out, I don't know who I am in this stage of my life, in my late 20s, and what brings me joy outside of work and the things that I think I should be doing and all of that sort of stuff.
That's a beautiful introduction.
What
Thanks.
are a couple of things that have been bringing you joy lately?
Mm-hmm.
Just in the last week.
Not a good time frame. Not a good time frame.
This year so far.
This year, I got to go on some really great international trips for work,
Whoa.
which is, I guess, a pro of my job. So I'm trying to be grateful for that.
Where did you go?
I got to go to Solomon Islands and Samoa.
Wow.
Very cool.
That's
so
awesome.
Very
I guess
cool.
that's probably the highlight of my year.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
That's awesome.
What about you, Wave?
So I'm Waveney, but everyone calls me Wave. It's a lot easier.
Yes, sorry, I should have introduced full names, but
No, that's all good. I'm 29, so I'm coming out of that kind of season of life. I'm like, who am I? What do I enjoy? And I guess for me, it's very much in my cozy era of like lots of reading. So super keen to be here today and just yap about books, which is always a good time. And I guess what brings me joy is books, being with the dog, walking, just those simple pleasures. And I've really embraced that and think it's good space to be in.
Gorgeous.
Mm.
So last episode that everyone would have listened to, we had Blue join us to talk about their book club, Neighbourhood Book Club, which is a group that they're facilitating to create connection through the sharing of ideas and spaces. And we thought it'd be really fun to follow up that episode with an actual kind of live book club. So that's what we're doing here today. We're going to have a book club discussion and hopefully inspire you listening to maybe join a local community book club or even start your own. But before I pass over to Rowie to introduce the book, full disclaimer, I have not read this book, which we were thinking that I wouldn't be part of this episode for that reason. But in our conversation with Blue, we talked about how in their book club, people are totally welcome if they haven't read. And in my recent experience, showing up to book clubs, having not read the book, really inspired me to start reading it. So here I am, putting it into practice.
welcome. Thank you for coming as you are.
So I will be totally naive, but hopefully still have valuable contributions.
You always have valuable contributions.
But I'm really interested to hear about this book. So
Yes.
what did you read?
We read, I'm going to show the book to the people viewing the podcast, but we read Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. Big shout out to Alex who actually brought the book because Wave and I read it on our Kindles. But I guess to introduce, I think it's worthwhile also introducing the author. So Mellors was raised in London and moved to New York City at the age of 15 with her family. Her father is an advertising executive and her mother is a therapist, which I think is a very interesting point in relation to the book. So I'm sure we'll be able to dive into that and actually talk about that a little bit. She's also the youngest of 4 siblings. So again, a very interesting comparison to the book. She has a fine arts degree in fiction from New York University. very accomplished. And she's openly discussed her struggles with alcoholism, and how she kind of got through that through writing. So a very, very interesting woman. The book itself, and I am going to read the blurb. So if I sound like I'm reading, it's because I am being assisted by the text on my screen here. But the blurb reads, "The three Blue sisters are exceptional and exceptionally different. Avery, the eldest and a recovering heroin addict turned straight-laced lawyer, lives with her wife in London. Bonnie, a former boxer, works as a bouncer in Los Angeles following a devastating defeat. And Lucky, the youngest, models in Paris while trying to outrun her hard partying ways. They also had a fourth sister, Nikki, whose unexpected death left Avery, Bonnie and Lucky reeling. A year later, as they each navigate grief, addiction and ambition, they find they must return to New York to stop the sale of the apartment they were raised in. But coming home is never as easy as it seems, and the sisters reckon with the disappointments of their childhood and the loss of the only person who held them together. They realise the greatest secrets they've been keeping might not have been from each other, but from themselves."
Wow, great blurb. I'm immediately invested and wish I read this.
Yeah, so a wonderful blurb. And from my perspective, the reason why, well, and actually the people around the table today, it kind of came together organically. But for a long time, because Wave and I worked together, and I'd been like, we should read the same book, like let's just do it, like whatever. And so this was the book that we chose. And I did have an intention behind the book that maybe it could come onto the podcast just because of the topic. Like familial love is like a very strong form of platonic love. And so I just really wanted to explore it from like that lens. And then funnily enough, I was like having a conversation with Alex about the fact that I just finished this book. And she was like, oh, I finished that like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, okay, so maybe I can actually do like a book club episode. So that's how we
Three's
got
a crowd.
Here. Yes. That's it. What's four then?
A party?
A bigger crowd.
But yeah, that's how we got here. That's why I chose the book, I guess.
Cool.
But yeah, it happened mostly organically, I would say. To start, I think we need to address there was a lot of hype about this book. So Coco Mellors released her first book, I think it's like Frankenstein and Cleopatra.
Yeah.
I've heard of that one.
When she was 26. And, you know, it went wild all over socials and everyone was like so impressed by it and everyone was like, you have to read it, you have to read it, you have to read it. And then she released Blue Sisters and pretty much the exact same thing happened. And so you have everyone all over the internet raving about Blue Sisters. Now, my first question, just to get to the juicy part of it, to Alex and Wave is, do you think that the hype was justified? And do you think that it kind of lived up to the blurb, like the expectations that you had from the blurb and from the author herself?
Am I going first?
I mean, you may as well.
I was thinking about the A and W.
we can mix it up. We can mix it up.
Okay. So I picked this up. I think Rachel actually bought it, my housemate. And then she got distracted and was reading something else. And so I saw it lying around. And I think we'd both sort of seen it on social media doing the rounds. And I wasn't actually aware of the author or the first book. And so I didn't actually know about any of the hype for the first book, or really this one. I'd sort of just seen it. And yeah, so I kind of didn't have a lot of expectations going into it. I'd give it a 3 out of 5, maybe slightly lower if we're going into specifics, maybe like
decimal points.
2.75. I think I had read maybe a few months prior Hello Beautiful, which was also about, I think, 4 sisters and their relationship and life over decades. And I guess this is a shorter time frame, but I think it still had those themes of like familial love. And I think the book was it was easy to read, language was easy enough and all of that. It just, Yeah, it fell flat for me. I was underwhelmed.
What about you, Wave?
So you actually introduced the book to me. I never heard of it before. I knew of the author, but that the time when I ran into you when we were walking the lake,
Yep.
and you said, "Have you read Blue Sisters yet?" And I was like, "What is Blue Sisters?" So then I went home and I was like, "This sounds really good, actually." So I don't really have much into the hype either. I don't really read blurbs a lot of the time. Like I have a rough kind of idea of what the book's about, and then I'll just kind of go in blind and get surprised along the way. I actually read it probably just over a day. That's me though. I'm a speed reader. Yeah.
And for context, I was like, I haven't gotten to it yet, but like I'm gonna start it tonight, or maybe I was like, I've started it,
Yeah.
but it'll take me a while. And Wave's like, that's fine. Like I'm not really in the reading mood at the moment. She sends me a message like 2 days later, being like, I've read like 75% of the book in one day.
And how many pages are we talking, just for context?
Oh, like it's like 340 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
342 to be exact.
So on the Kindle, you got a bit of an advantage. You do read a little bit quicker. So, got to put some credit to that. But I guess I read it so fast was because it was super simple, and I guess the language and the plot. So it was a quick, easy read. I do remember messaging Ro halfway through saying I'm losing my interest a little bit because I love a character-driven kind of storyline. And if there's a particular character that's not quite gelling with me, or they've got characteristics that I'm finding hard to overlook, that's where I kind of latch onto it. I'm like, right, I can't see past this. So I was kind of waiting for a bit of a turn to kind of get me back in, and it did. I think about, that 75% way. There was a change in the plot. It was really good. And so I gave it a 4. But I guess I gave it a 4 because of how engaged I was in that 48-hour period, like literally doing nothing the whole weekend, looking up later that night being like, the day's gone. But I think it could probably fall to like a 3.5.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say, I guess as someone who maybe was the only one that was aware of the hype of the book, I don't want to be harsh on it because I do think that there was some good qualities to the book. I think it's very impressive that the author was able to write so well about so many different and very difficult topics. And having an understanding of her life, I think is also like super, super helpful. In retrospect, I didn't know that reading the book. I've only known that like since then. So I think I've gained a new appreciation for the book. I don't remember exactly what I rated it when I think it was a 3.5 that I gave it. And I think it was the character. It was the characters that one in particular that like just drove me insane.
Is this the same character that you got bored with?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I guess before we dive too much into that, like who was our favourite character of the book? Alex's face is really telling a story. Did you have one, or did you just think they were all like safe space? Safe space.
I was looking at the questions,
yeah,
and in my notes app, I think the first thing I put. I didn't really like any of them. Maybe Chitty's brother.
Oh, yeah. He was a good side character. He was pretty good.
Who has 2 lines.
I love that you committed to the book, though. Like, that you still read it.
Yeah.
Like, you were like, I'm not obsessed with any of these characters, but there was obviously something in it where you were like, I'm just going to finish the book. Like, there was something that you were holding on to.
Yeah, I think maybe because I think the prologue sort of tells you who they are. And I guess you kind of find out bits and pieces as you go through. And it maybe as well because there wasn't a massive storyline. I was like, okay, how is this going to end? How is it going to wrap up? Like, what are you doing with all these things, and are they going to sort themselves out? Yeah. So I guess there was a little bit of intrigue there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I also read this it was January, And I think I was feeling optimistic, and I was like, yes, I'm going to read a book. It's going to be great for me.
Summer reading. It's always a good time.
It was. I went to Monica Pool. I lay out on the grass. I read it. It was a good vibe.
Is this the photo that I have of you with your legs up in the air?
Yeah.
Oh my God, so cute.
It was that book.
I'll show you the listeners, viewers at home. I actually have a photo. I have proof of
that very
Alex.
time.
Yeah, of Alex reading the book.
Mm.
Did you have a favorite character, Wave?
Yeah, I reckon Bonnie was my favorite, but not like the absolute favorite character I've ever come across. I think what is really good about this book is it is character driven, but I guess what kind of drew me in was the human flaws and like just the reminder that we aren't perfect and we do have like faults and we go through, you know, peaks and troughs in lives. And so I think the relatability to that and like the humanity behind the characters and the realism behind them was what connected me into the story as well. And I think that's why I kind of kept turning the pages. But I'd say Bonnie. Bonnie was the sister who was a boxer. She became a bodyguard at a nightclub. But I guess I'm actually from a boxing family. So my dad used to box and used to be quite good at it at a young age. And then I also kind of did a bit of boxing myself for a couple of years and just enjoy it as a sport. So I guess there's that connection. But I also felt like Bonnie was quite like introverted, quiet, and the type of personality that observes people, reads the room, and then will put kind of contributions to the dynamics, but is super level-headed. And I kind of connected with that because I hope I bring that kind of dynamic to my relationships where you're just kind of fiercely loyal, but, you know, giving people space to feel and express themselves and then kind of coming in and adding, I guess, some life advice to it. So I kind of got that from her and I saw a little bit of myself in that character.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It sounds like you saw yourself
Yeah.
reflected in her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I think Bonnie was the I think Bonnie was the character that you wanted to like.
Mm.
So was she the main character or were they kind of equal mains?
They were kind of equal. I would say, however, that Avery, who's the eldest sister, there was definitely more on her.
And maybe Lucky.
And yeah, maybe a bit of Lucky.
Yeah.
But I think Bonnie's character was really important because of those qualities that Way was just like describing. Like she is very fiercely loyal and she does have this desire to like keep her sisters together and keep her family together. And when they've experienced this like huge grief with losing their sister, who was that for the family? Who was the person keeping them together? I think it's really nice that Coco has like balanced that out with Bonnie. I actually think, I'm not sure if I related to any character in particular. I think I related to a couple of them in different ways, and I think that's what caused my irritation with some of them as well.
Okay.
So I think Avery is like a very ambitious, like go out into the world and like make it happen kind of person, but also like very, very protective, but also a mess. Like just like really struggles, is an addict, isn't her true self to like the people in her life because she wants to maintain this like, I guess this image, and to like protect them from herself. So that was really interesting. And then the other problem child, Lucky, I think I related to Lucky in the sense of like similar age bracket. Like you're trying to figure out your place in the world and you're just struggling with like a lot of outside factors. I think that's how I related to Lucky, but like everything else about Lucky killed me. Like I wanted her to be like my favorite character. Like I was really rooting for her to be my favorite character.
Why?
Just because I saw in her like the biggest growth potential.
Yeah, like a bit of a redemption story in a way. as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Like there was just so many opportunities for her to like grow and for her to like become this outstanding person that she was capable of becoming. And she just kept making the same mistakes. And there was this like one bit in the book where she re-encounters a model who she's known from Paris. So she's back in New York at this point. And he like is very interested in her, like wants to like have a romantic relationship with her. And she's like just such a mess. And like in that moment, you're like, this person is like perfect. Because I am a diehard romantic. Like I hide it, but I am. And so like this part of the book like got me a little bit because I was like, this person obviously like really sees you for like your good qualities, like, and wants to be with you. And like, why are you not letting yourself have this experience? Like, why are you know what I mean? Like, it's like you were avoiding this because of your actions. And I can't really like I can, but I can't personally sympathize with addiction. I don't have an addiction, but I've had it in my family. So I think in that sense, I think it actually made it worse for me because like all the anger and resentment that I may have been harboring for people in my life was then like
projected
onto these characters, like both Avery and Lucky. But yeah, I think in a way it was like the messiness that I related to the most, which is like so weird. But yeah, I loved that they were chaotic and that they weren't perfect. But I just, in that, like, I was just left feeling a little bit infuriated.
I mean, they sound like very captivating characters for all of those reasons you described.
Yeah.
Like the chaos of it and the potential and not reaching it would be like a really captivating
and then you get
person to read about.
Yeah, and then you get to the last chapter and you're like, yes, they've done it. They've made it through this like really hard period. It's like 10 years into the future, I think. 10 years?
Yeah.
It's like 10 years into the future. They're all back on track and then Lucky's like a mess again. And you're like, what have you been doing? Anyway, I'm getting very passionate about it. But I would say that there was points of connection with each of them.
Yep.
Which I did appreciate. I appreciated that they were so well written that I could connect to them. But it didn't land right in the end. And I think that's probably because of the hype that I had seen and that I was like
Do you mean
receiving.
it didn't land right? Like it kind of sounds like you have a gripe with the characters themselves, but I imagine that was completely the author's intention.
Yeah.
So actually has it like landed totally right and the intention was for it to feel a bit uncomfortable and a bit kind of annoying that they haven't got their shit together? Like would that have really been...
I think that's probably a part of the intention, like to
ultimate-
show the flaws of like...
But maybe was it kind of the point, like they each were struggling with something, and since the death of their sister Nikki, they'd all sort of grown distant from each other, and they're like they each have something that they need to fix in their life, or they're running away from, and they're not like facing those issues. So I think you were saying about Lucky when she has that like opportunity to be with that other model, like she just in that moment can't do it. But I think in that point of the story, she hadn't come to terms with her sister's death, and so I think it takes like that's part of the story, is that they need to like figure out themselves, but it takes them coming back together as a family and working through all their issues.
Alex really loved this book.
I'm so torn because I think there's valid points, and I think Wave, you raised something really like a really good point in that actually it's a really good reflection that we aren't perfect human beings, and if someone were to like look at me and my life, I'd probably be a really annoying character because I keep doing things that are dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not going out on benders every week, but I still do annoying things, and so characters aren't perfect. We're not perfect, and so I think that's a good reflection of that, and maybe part of the I guess, intrigue in the characters is that, we can see a little bit of ourselves in them.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a mirror.
I don't know if I see myself in them necessarily. Maybe someone else sees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Nikki's death then.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because it's like the reason for the novel. Like, it doesn't actually start with Nikki alive at all. Like, Nikki is just dead.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler. It's like, she's dead. And, like, Bonnie found her, and I think that was really interesting to explore, like, the different layers from each sister of, like, the loss and how fragile their relationships could be, like, when something bad happens. And I think that speaks to not just, like, familial platonic love, but just, like, general platonic love as well. Like, when big things happen, like the strength and fragility of relationships is, like, really interesting to observe.
It's really tested.
Yeah, and I think what we saw in the book is that Nikki dies. They all go off into their own, like, isolated worlds to try and protect one another from the other's, like, emotions and like, spiraling. But then it complicates their relationships with each other. And so they're not able to, like, love in the same way. And so it really takes them back to, like, having to be together to actually, like, deal with the loss, which I think is really, like, that's probably something I really loved about the book, was that, like, I saw that, I guess, in my own family situation. Like, when big stuff does happen, it's, like, this very lovely thing of, like, eventually you come back and you heal together and you, like, find a way forward. But because it is about familial love, the book actually does say a sister is not a friend. And so that's, like, an interesting thing for us to bring up, because our podcast is about platonic love, and I've always thought familial love is very much like a very strong form of platonic love. So how do we think, after reading the book, how do we think that reflects, like, sibling love versus, like, just other platonic relationships? And, like, do you two think that, like, siblings can be friends? It's a bit personal, but yeah.
Can I also ask, kind of initially, do you think that relates really specifically to a sister? Because I, for example, don't have a sister. Do you think that is, like, a specific kind of gendered thing? A sister is not a friend, or is it kind of more broadly sibling?
What did she say? There was, like, something else.
I love that Wave's, like, trying to, like, whisper around the mic. We're just trying to find a quote.
Oh, that's perfect.
A bit of ASMR as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, sister is not a friend who can explain the urge to take a relationship as primal and complex as a sibling and reduce it to something as replaceable as banal as a friend.
Whoa.
So that adds some depth into the discussion.
Yeah. I don't think I agree with it, to be honest.
I'm going to read that again.
Do
the listeners want me to read it again?
You can read it again.
Where was it?
First page. First sentence.
Yeah.
What? Hold on. Okay. A sister is not a friend. Who can explain the urge to take a relationship as primal and complex as a sibling and reduce it to something as replaceable as banal as a friend? Can someone remind me the definition of banal? I think that's not a nice word.
I mean, I don't know it. I don't know the definition of it, but it would be like empty. Is how the first word that I associated with it.
The next sentence as well is, yet this status is used again and again to connote the highest intimacy.
Yeah, like friendship.
No, I'd say it's sibling.
Like when you introduce a friend, you're like, oh, she's like my sister. It's like,
oh yeah.
Like, she's more than a friend. She's a sister.
Yeah.
It's the sisterhood of the traveling pants.
That's the next book club episode. Let's revisit that one for our youth. Yeah, Wave doesn't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't also have a sister. I have a brother, and the dynamic of the relationship I would assume is quite different between a brother and a sister and two sisters. But I guess speaking from fostering really strong friendships with other women and saying you're like a sister is a really high compliment and regard, and to see someone like that. So I don't, yeah, I guess I guess being a friend to me is not you're just replaceable and banal. You might have some friendships that kind of, you're more in a phase of life, they come in and they go, and that's natural. But there's certain friendships where you would equate them to essentially being like family. Yeah. And then on the other hand, I think speaking from my brother and I, now that we're well into our adulthood and we've got life experiences under our belt and wisdom and things like that, I would say he's more a friend than a brother. But I mean that with the utmost kind of respect and regard. And I think that's actually a really good place to be with a sibling, is to view them as a friend and to, takes your relationship to a different level, I think. That's just my view.
It seems like that sentence is saying, so a sister is more than a friend.
Yeah.
Way more than a friend.
Yeah. I think I sit somewhere in the middle. But I definitely would agree. I think it's it's a respectful thing to be like Alex was just saying, like, oh, she's like a sister to me. I think that's quite a honor to have kind of like bestowed on you. I have a sister and a brother. I'm the only one at the table that does. So that's quite lovely for me to be able to reflect from that perspective. I think that I would agree that in growing up and becoming adults, I've definitely become friends with my siblings and seen them in a very different light. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. I'm the youngest child, which probably will explain my answer to a lot of people. But I just think my siblings are the coolest people in the world. So the fact that I can go on trips with them and hang out with them and just be in their space, I think it's incredible because they're just wonderful humans. So I really appreciate that I can call them my friend, and I do think siblings can be friends.
But do you think that they are even more important, or it is a deeper or stronger or more long-lasting connection than a non-familial friend? Because I think that's what that first paragraph is implying.
That's what it's getting at.
Yeah.
I definitely connected to it when I read it. I think there is some truth to it. I think there's also circumstances where I would disagree with it. But I think they're for those very deep, very long-term, very kind of you choose your family. I think that would be my only.
And to briefly speak to my own experience, I have quite a complicated relationship with my sibling, a brother, and I certainly feel much, much closer to many of my non-familial friends, chosen family, than I do to my blood-related sibling, at least in this kind of iteration of our relationship. So, I don't know if I do agree with it necessarily. I think it can foster that relationship, obviously, blood relation, family.
But I think to have those sorts of relationships, you need to be friends. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where the kicker is. It's to have a relationship where it can be described the way that it's been described in the book. You have to want to be their friend.
Yeah.
You have to respect them as a friend.
So almost friend actually is the kind of higher regard.
Yeah, in a way.
Because you choose to be with your friends and you think, I want to spend my time with this person. It's not just because I've got a familial relation. It's you genuinely want to spend time with that person and you choose to make time in your day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to title a sibling a friend is, but then vice versa, to title a friend like a sister.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess that's why they're both forms of platonic love, though. I guess that's what's so amazing about platonic love itself is it's like so deep, it's so flexible, it can apply in many different ways. And I guess the great thing about it is as long as you find the way that suits you and the thing that feeds into like that actually feeds your life.
Yeah.
And like gives value. That was a weird way of describing it. That feeds your life. That waters the soil.
Nourishes.
That grows the plants.
But it's definitely not as black and white as that.
No.
Yeah.
It's like family equals the strongest possible
Yeah.
platonic love.
So I
like
think-
not necessarily.
So I think that's why when I read that first sentence, and surprisingly, immediately I'm like, I don't agree with this, but I'll continue on. I'll read it in 24 hours still. But yeah, I think
It's
the
a hot
black and
take.
white- yeah. It's the black and whiteness of it that I didn't, necessarily agree with. Yeah.
And I think another layer which I liked in the book actually, in the layer that they explored was this idea that like each of them knew Nikki, the sister that had died, in very different ways. And they had very different relationships with her. And I think that was also like an incredibly special thing to kind of read. I would actually say I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed that like exploration and I could relate to that. And not just in the sense of like my siblings, which funnily enough, I'm going through something at the moment. And I had conversations with both my siblings today about it. And my elder sister, who's like the protective bearer of the family, her answer was like super black and white, just like, this is what we do. This is what I recommend. But my brother, who's the middle child, he had a very different answer. And it's because we have very different relationships with each other. So my brother's approach was putting himself in my shoes and saying, okay, but you need to do this thing because this is the thing that you've been working towards and you need this so that you can continue to do these other things. But my sister was like, oh, no, that's the issue. We have to get rid of the issue and we'll deal with the other stuff later without recognizing from my perspective, even though she knows my perspective and she's like, I know this is what you want. But so I think for me, that was what was really interesting in the book is like, you got to see those different versions. And when they actually started communicating, I think that was what was really interesting. And I see that in my sibling relationships, which is why I think I bring it up because like we talk about it quite openly. It's like oh well, this is what's happening. I understand you because of this, because of our relationship, or you know. And so that's something that I really liked, and I think it really reflected the complexity of platonic relationships, not just necessarily familial relationships. Would you agree to that, like on a platonic level, like regardless of like siblings, like could you relate in a way to the way that the characters all had different relationships? Could you think about it in like well, I have a friend that I have this sort of relationship with, or I have a friend that I have this sort of relationship with, and like what feeling or understanding were you left with?
I think as I was reading this, and this is maybe one of my issues with the characters, I think they're all like it's very much like their birth order dictates a lot of how they relate to each other, and I think then how you see like your siblings as well.
So true.
And like I'm the oldest, and so I think there's similarities, or I can relate to Avery in some ways, not necessarily like all of them, but it's like that you take on the role as like, oh, well, I'm the responsible one, or I like have to make these hard decisions and like protect or look after younger ones. But I think when they were talking about their relationship with Nikki, it was coming from that, like, were they older, were they younger? I've lost my train of thought.
No, but
that was kind of
yeah.
thinking that.
That was how you were unpicking it, and that was how you were looking at it. So not
Yeah.
necessarily, you weren't necessarily seeing the like broad platonic, like friendship sort of angle.
Yeah, I think it was maybe just from where they felt, like where they saw themselves within that dynamic.
Like a full kind of family relational thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
What about you, Wave?
I think it's in the sense of like obviously all your friends that you have, or even your like family members, we all have different personalities and different kind of interests. And I think what you were saying earlier, like one friend you have certain things that you do with them, and then another friend you do different things. And I think that's just like they just bring out those certain sides of you naturally because you connect on that particular personality or like interest. So I don't know if I'm articulating myself well, but I think it's, I can see why the sisters realised, oh, she wasn't like that with me. Why was she like that with you? But it's simply because we're not all the same. Like we're all so different. And then, I could be the way I'm with you. And when we hang out, it could be so different to how I hang, like still similar, but like what fills my cup or like what fills a cup with another friend could be completely different. And so I guess I could understand why those different sides were brought out.
Yeah.
Mm.
I want to talk about the parents.
Mm.
Don't want to spend too long on it, but I do think it's because you kind of go through a lot of the book thinking, did these girls just like raise themselves?
Mm.
And a lot of it does get put on like the elder sister, and you really see that kind of resentment written into the book from her perspective. Resentment, maybe not resentment.
Say resentment, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good word.
Yeah, I feel like she didn't get to have her childhood or her youth, and then once she was sort of 18 or like she drank too much, and she like was sort of what did she join a commune or something like that? She did
some drugs,
Yeah.
all the things.
but she like got to sort of live out maybe like her
Like kind of
youth
rebel,
through that, and like not have responsibilities for the other three. But I felt that resentment.
Particularly towards the mum.
Yeah,
parents,
that relationship with the mom was interesting, and like when she goes to visit her, and she's like, I think through having to raise her three younger sisters, she came to the realization that she didn't want to be a mother because she's sort of been through that. But I also think maybe that was influenced by the fact that her mother like had no interest in raising them.
Yeah.
If I remember that correctly.
So was the mother around at all or just not present?
She was, but like emotionally absent.
Right.
Didn't have like a natural maternal instinct, I would say. From
It was actually really interesting because like the way that she wrote it was kind of like the mother loved the father very much, and that was where the relationship
And is this
was
all written
focused.
from the perspective of the sisters reflecting
of
on
the
it?
sisters,
Yeah.
mainly Avery.
Yeah.
So there's a chapter where Avery like heads off and like spends time with her mum, and they have this very transparent conversation about their lives, and it's kind of, I actually think that was one of my favorite parts of the novel.
Agreed.
I think it really showed the complexity of relationships to like an even greater level. And it was just very beautifully done and very beautifully written. And I think Coco had such empathy for both the characters when she was writing it. So yeah, I do think that added depth to the story to get that perspective of like, we knew that the parents were absent and we knew there was abuse in the family, but there was still a lot of love in the family. But then to actually get that chapter with the mother was just very revealing and kind of did show us why the sisters loved each other differently and why they had different relationships. And as Alex was saying, like the birth order like comes into that. So it was really, really interesting.
But it also like in that chapter as well, I think for the entire like way through the book up until that chapter, I had resentment towards the mother because I was only getting Avery's perspective on her experiences. But then I think what I really appreciated in that chapter was getting the mum's perspective and realising because the father had alcoholism she was trying to protect her kids in the way that she thought she could do it. But the way the kids perceived it was that she was just abandoning them, supporting the dad through, you know.
Just letting him continue to do this really poor behaviour.
Yeah, so I think one of the things she said, the mother in the chapter, was, I did the best I could and what I thought was the best for you. So it was just, she just, handled it differently. And so just getting two sides and, the perspectives of both was, quite good. Well done.
Yeah.
That is also such a, I think a young adult kind of experience, that humanizing
it really
of
is,
your
isn't it? Yeah.
parents, especially once you kind of start being an adult yourself and realize most of the time, hopefully, they really were just doing their best. They were just trying their best.
Yeah.
And I think as a child, it's so easy, or especially an adolescent, to feel resentment towards them for certain things. And it's such
It's so true that like they're living, like this is their first time here too.
Yeah.
Like I heard that like earlier in my 20s, and at the time it hit me and I was like, wow. And it just like made so much sense to me, and just like really opened my eyes up to like my relationships with my parents at the time as well.
Absolutely. Also just like the closer that we get to potentially childbearing age, and the thought of like, oh my gosh, I still have so many of my own issues that, you know, I would do my best with, but like, I'm sure, you know, a future child would resent certain things about me, but I would absolutely be trying my best and trying to do the best by them.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the parts of growing up, is realizing that we are all human. And I think in that way the book does a great job. And that's probably why it's more than a 3 for me.
Yeah.
Because I do think she manages the relationships and like really shows a very
like holistic kind of.
Yeah, she doesn't try to hide the negative. If anything, she focuses on the negative. But I think for me, like the last question we have here is about like if we were satisfied with how the relationships evolved, and if like that platonic love helped them grow, reconnect and find closure. And I think for me, it just, like I said at the start, like I didn't get the closure. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point of the novel. And I'm someone that actually loves those sorts of endings.
Yeah.
Like if I go to a movie and it like is like such like a bet, like it's just like and the end. But it's like midlife.
Yeah, it's very uncertain.
I'm like, I love that. Like, because you kind of get to like think
that's
about it.
real life, right?
But I
like we've seen you've read a snapshot in time.
But I think the thing that I didn't enjoy was just that she gave us those 10 extra years. If she hadn't
set you up for,
if she didn't give me those 10 extra years, I think it would have been fine. Like,
so as you started reading that bit, you were like, "Oh, okay, she's giving me closure. It's 10 years later. We're reflecting."
Yeah, I was like, "She's chosen to do this. Great." And then halfway through the chapter, I was like, "Why? You could have just let me make up the ending, you know?" But again, intentional thing. She's the author. How did you guys feel at the end of the book?
I don't really remember the ending. I think I remember it's in the future. I think it felt rushed, like it wasn't done very well. But yeah,
which is also maybe why I didn't like it.
Yeah, but I actually don't remember much of the ending or like how they
relationships
resolved
ended.
anything.
Because what happens? Avery remarries.
Yeah, or gets like a new partner.
Yep.
And then Bonnie
has a child with
the
Pavel. Pavel, I think that's how you pronounce his name, which was her boxing trainer, and she was in love with for a very long time. Pavel. In my head.
Anyway.
Yep. So she had a child, and then Lucky was still like, I think she was unresolved.
She was unresolved, but she did like do like she like changed her career, and like that's awesome and like whatever. But I feel like I didn't need that. I feel like that storyline was already in my head. I already saw her going into that industry in my head. And I feel like she did such a beautiful job of resolving the relationships and like having that healing before the epilogue. So for me, I'm like, just ditch the last chapter.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be like raw and honest, like, and like leave it the way life is, like just leave it the way life is. Like I didn't need that attempted closure. Like I didn't need that final bit.
Well, yeah, I wonder what the point was then, because
Yeah.
it seems it maybe wasn't closure.
Yeah.
That was not the point of adding that bit at the end.
Maybe it was just, that's a hard one, I think, as I haven't written a book before.
Yeah.
But like as an author, I could maybe understand why, because some readers are like, I need that 10-year future. Where do they go? And you can't just end it on here. Like, so I can see why she's put it in. And the purpose, like epilogues in particular, can serve. But yeah, perhaps just for this one, it didn't. I wasn't too underwhelmed by the ending. I thought it was quite nice. I don't mind a bit of a what happens in 10 years. I'm that type
I
of
liked
reader.
that Bonnie had a baby. You know?
Yeah.
I like that one of them wanted to be a mother after the like very
Their whole
full-on
experience of,
life that they've had.
with their mother.
Yeah. Well, we'll wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
Any last minute thoughts before we ask you our final question?
I know this was really fun, and I just love talking about books because, like, obviously when you put the book down, you kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
So I did have to reread the summary and things like that last night to go, oh yes, that's right. But I think reading it, speaking about it in a group and going down into the layers of the plot and the characters, like that's really cool. Just gives you a bit more now in hindsight that you don't totally acknowledge while you're reading it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think also like by us having this like little book club session, it like made me do a little bit of research. Blue was talking about how they enjoy that process of like but feeling a responsibility to like understand the background of the book and like the times and potentially the author. And this has kind of allowed me to do that. And so I think I've gained a lot of respect for the book in the process of, and like just by talking about like these ideas and different perspectives. I think that's been really nice. So that would be kind of my thinking.
Yeah. No, I agreed. I still don't think I really liked the book.
Yeah.
It's not for you, that's okay.
Not for me. But I think I enjoyed listening to your perspectives and take on it. And I think just based on, I know, Rowie, what your, I guess, relationship with your siblings is, and I guess then sort of understanding more like how that
How you
influenced your
connected to
perspective,
it.
and connected to the book. So yes, it was a good activity.
Yeah.
And I certainly feel like I want to read the book
Yeah,
now.
are you gonna read it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
I'm
love that.
invested.
I love that.
I am so for this, like, rocking up to book clubs without having read the book.
We did give you some spoilers though, and I feel like that's
No, but I
not a
also
great
feel
thing,
like
but-
that's okay because there's still so much there,
Yeah.
obviously, to understand.
Because I think so much of the book is in each of the chapters.
Yeah.
You get like more detail
Yeah.
of each sister.
yeah, agreed.
Because you
It's
already
like-
know that Nikki's died.
Yeah.
Spoiler! It's on the blurb. But yeah, okay. Well, you've already answered this question, but you might have a different opinion to it. But Wave, before we and every time we end the episode, we ask our guests what platonic love means to them. Do you want to go first? And then Alex can say if she thinks that she in the last, how long has it been? Probably like
2 years.
2 years
Yeah, it's
since
been-
she recorded her episode, if that's changed at all.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, ooh, how do I answer this? What does platonic love mean to me? I don't know, just really deep connection with others that just goes beyond like superficial kind of, conversations, like really understanding who this person is, what they value, what, brings them joy, and how in that relationship you can also receive and give those joys and add to the whole experience. So yeah, I don't know, I guess that's what it means to me, is just having those really deep, rock solid connections with others and getting to know them. And I think for me, books in particular has really fostered platonic love in my life and relationships. And I think it's just purely because you chat about a book, you hear another person's perspective, they bring in their own personal experiences, so you get insight. So I don't know, I encourage anyone, as you know, Rowie, when I talk about books, just to pick up a book. It's probably the best thing I've ever done. Used to be a reader, but particularly in the last few years, books bring a lot of joy. So that's also fostered a lot of my kind of platonic relationships too.
You've had such good answers this whole time. I've listening, been in awe, been like, wow.
She gets it. She gets it. For context, Wave and I work together, which I have said. But I think it's a fun little thing to add in. Alex and I have known each other for quite some time now. And before I even like said to Wave, let's get a coffee or like let's do something together, I literally had conversations with Alex where I was like, oh, my work crush, Wave. Like she you wouldn't believe what she wore today. Like she looked so beautiful. Like we had a discussion about this.
I know you have a great dress collection.
Oh,
Yes.
so good.
Yes.
I don't know why I brought that up. I don't know how
You were just sharing a bit of platonic love.
I think like I think it's nice to have like both Wave and Alex here because like Alex kind of understands a little bit the backstory of my friendship with Wave, which I think is really nice.
But I'm really glad that like we've taken our work relationship into an actual friendship because I always feel like it's a bit awkward sometimes. You're like, I really like you as a person, but you're a work colleague and I spend so much time with you and I want to spend more time with you outside of a work context.
Yeah.
So like I'm super stoked.
I am too.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It
Alex,
is super exciting.
how has your relationship with platonic love changed since the last time you came on the podcast?
How's my relationship with platonic love changed?
Do you feel like it has in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
What's your answer?
I actually can't remember. I probably should have gone back and listened, but I really hate listening to my voice.
Yeah,
so
okay.
But you can just think about that time and like what's changed
Yeah.
since.
It
I
has
think
changed, I think.
It has changed a lot. I think, it was 2 years ago. That was a weird year as well. And I think I was definitely struggling with different relationships in my life. I think at the moment, I think that's how I'm trying to look at things. It's like, this is how I feel, like this is who I am in this moment. Yep. This is how I feel about these relationships and these moments. And I think at the moment, platonic love is, I kind of think maybe similar to what you said, Wave, but it's, I think the investment and like that really intentional investment in that relationship and they invest in you. And like at the moment, my platonic relationships are like, they're like the main sort of like love in my life. And I think I recognize that. And so I'm like, this is something that, I value so much. And like, it's seen me through like just so many ups and downs. And it's something that I see like continuing. So
A really long-standing form of love.
Yeah, so you keep investing in it.
I actually think a very similar answer to the last time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll have to fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure. Very similar.
But that's interesting just to reflect on the fact that it does feel different for you.
yeah, I think it feels different. I think, what was I, like 27 when we
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
recorded the last one?
Maybe 26, actually. No, 27.
I was
You would have been
27.
just 27, yeah.
I'm almost 29 now, so really exciting. But something is happening in my brain where I'm thinking about all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
thanks for
coming
having
on,
us.
having a chat. I hope that the listeners and the viewers have enjoyed. We really wanted to just create a space for you to have an understanding, if you've never been to a book club, of like what a book club may look like, the sort of discussions you may be having. And we really thought it was important to come on after Blue's episode so that you felt like you could like go to a book club and like put yourself in that space and be open to it, because it is really special and you do get to connect and you do get to know people and their experiences through literature. And it's a really beautiful thing.
It is a really nice kind of entry point into new friendships as well, I think, when they can feel maybe a bit intimidating, like how do I ask this work colleague out for coffee, or, you know, what are we going to talk about? But I just know I vibe with them. Yeah, it's a really beautiful example of one way to connect. To connect, yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we're wrapping up, I guess, but where can people find us, Sami?
You can find us on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube at Platonically Yours Podcast, and at Platonically Yours everywhere that you get your podcasts. And we will be back in your ears and eyeballs next week. Thanks so much for listening.